I literally just spent ages taking a thumbnail and it hurts my wrist. Like, how do people do this? Hold up, all these books. Hey guys, welcome back. Today is going to be April wrap up, and this is actually the first wrap up that I am filming in my whole reading lifetime, because so far I honestly didn't read more than like a book a week, so like 4 books a month. And I don't know, I don't really enjoy watching like really short wrap ups. Like, I don't know if it's like 3 to 4 books. I always think it's not that interesting, just because I love going to wrap ups for like recommendations and stuff, just to see how people feel about the books. And I always feel like 4 books, not enough recommendations, which is silly because it doesn't really matter how many books you read a month, as long as you're enjoying the books that you are reading, or you're enjoying yourself while reading. So yeah, I don't know why I got that into my head, but I thought since this month I went on vacation and I had a little bit more time to read than normally, and I did read 7 books this month, I thought we could read about them. We could talk about those 7 books. I'm so sorry for my voice. I am losing it a little bit because I don't know if I'm getting sick or not, but I hope that's fine. 7 books is actually probably the best month I've ever had. Not in terms of ratings, definitely not in terms of ratings, but in terms of the amount of books. I definitely think the more books that you read, the pickier you get, and that's why these ratings weren't as high as maybe other ones. I did enjoy all the books that I read this month. I think it's gonna be fun to talk about them. Okay, let's get right into it. Beginning of the month, I was still filming, I think it was my last video that I just uploaded, so the Sarah Caroli Picks My Next Reads. So the first 2 books in this wrap up are gonna be from that video. So if you want all of my like in-depth opinions about these books, just head on over to that video. I think I can link it here. First book was Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. It is one of the first fantasies that I've ever read. Before I read this book, I definitely said I wasn't the biggest fantasy fan. I'm not a fantasy girl yet. But after this book, I even said it in that video, I feel like fantasy and I are like on the way, at least, to becoming besties, because I am so intrigued about fantasy books. I am currently reading a fantasy book as well. I feel like I'm getting into my fantasy era, which is so fun because I love discovering a new genre, because it's like it opens up so many more possibilities for you. Enough rambling about fantasy. If you don't know what it's about, but basically I feel like everyone knows because it's so hyped up, but it's about, I can never pronounce her name, so I'm just gonna say Miss Fox. Eva, I'm just gonna call her Eva. Evangeline. She wants her happily ever after. She's chasing the love of her life who's getting married to a different person. She goes to one of the fates. The fates can basically like grant you wishes. You have to like promise something to the fate so that they will grant you the wish. She goes to the Prince of Heart, Jax, my absolute favorite character. He basically says he will do this for her, but she has to promise him 3 kisses. I love this book. Like I said, this has definitely changed my outlook on like fantasy. I gave this book 4.5 stars. The only half point that I deducted was basically for the beginning and for like my little introduction into fantasy. But yeah, I love this book. I love Jax so much. I thought it was so fun, and it was definitely, at the end, it was definitely like interesting and kept you reading and stuff. I do think that like with any fantasy, you need to get into the world. It was a really good book, and I was really surprised that I liked it. The second book that I also read for that video was The Bodyguard by Catherine Center. I read this on my Kindle, so I don't have the physical copy. Basically, The Bodyguard is a romance. It's fake dating trope, and it takes place on like this kind of like farm setting. The whole premise of the book is that she's a bodyguard, and he basically hired her as a security. I feel like I've explained that really roughly, so please bear with me as long as I'm like still getting into explaining books. In the beginning, I definitely said that I didn't love this book too much, just because, I don't know, I just didn't like the main character. Always feel like that bumps down the ratings. I loved the guy. He was so cute, Jack. Why is everyone called Jack or Jax in these books right now? Originally, I gave this book a 3-star rating, but I did think about it a lot more after finishing the book, so I did bump it up to 3.75. Really enjoyed that book. The next book that I read, just because I wanted to read it, not for a video, was The Dare by Elle Kennedy. This is part of the byeeeee universe. It is the spin-off series of Off Campus, as probably everyone knows. I mean, Off Campus is definitely a little bit more well-known than the byeeeee series, but I mean, everyone knows Elle Kennedy in this whole like universe. This is the last book that I still like had to finish of this whole universe. I am really sad that I finished it. I feel like it was a good ending. It was definitely not my favorite book. I loved the other books so much more. Don't even know if it's like, if you look at my rating, it definitely was my least favorite, but I also read all of the other books, like I think coming on 2 years ago, so I left like a huge gap, and I feel like my reading taste has like evolved and changed so much, so I can't really compare them anymore. What I can say about this book is, like the title already says, it's the dare. She gets dared to talk to this super good looking new cool guy. She asks him for a favor to fulfill this dare, and then from there they go into like a fake dating situation. I really liked the guy in this book. He was so uplifting and he supported her so much, and I feel like also he literally made the girl feel 1,000 times more confident than she was. I was just editing this video and I don't know why I said all of the stuff that I said, because that's actually not how I felt. Like watching this, I was like, I cannot leave it off like this. I have to like clear up. I thought I did love the guy because he was kind of cute, but I did think there were a lot of problems with like body shaming, fat shaming even, maybe. I'm not super well educated on that whole topic, so I don't want to say something that's not right. I definitely think that this book could trigger some people with the whole like look situation, and not even like a little bit more weight, but you know what I mean. And I definitely also didn't like how he was judging her looks even in the beginning, saying, this is not a spoiler, but saying like she's cute but she's not as pretty as a different girl, and I'm like, you don't say that about your future girlfriend. I mean, he didn't know, but you know what I mean. And I also think like the like emphasizing of like both her and him always on her weight and on her size. I was like, it's not important if you're a size 6 or a size 12, it doesn't matter, but like I appreciate representation, but I feel like this was more in like a negative way. It just didn't sit right with me. I don't want to like say anything wrong here, so I'm like just gonna leave it at like it didn't sit right with me. But I definitely feel like I needed to clear that up a little bit, because it definitely wasn't the representation of what I thought. That's also why I rated it so low in like comparison to other books of off camp. I did write down in my notes cute but nothing over the moon, and I feel like that describes it really good. It was just cute and easy and fun to read. I hated the miscommunication in this trope. If you're reading the series anyways, then you'll be happy to be back in this world. I gave this 3.5 stars. Like I said, nothing crazy, but also not bad at all. Next this month, I read The Summer of Broken Rules by K.L. Walter. I did want to read this on vacation. I thought I always take like one physical book on my Kindle, so I wanted to read this like by the poolside, be all cutesy with this like little cute cover book, because it's like adorable. This is like one of the nicest covers I feel like I own. Wanted like all the summer vibes. I finished this on the plane because I don't know, I was just enthralled in the story. So basically this takes place on Martha's Vineyard. It's where her family always goes in the summers to vacation. I think her grandparents own it, and they play this game of assassin every year when they go back to that summer home. But our main character's sister died, which made her not want to go the last 2 summers, but she has to go back this year because her cousin is getting married on Martha's Vineyard. So she goes back and she meets this guy, and then from there the love story evolves. Yeah, I explained that really shit well, but I feel like everyone knows what this book is about because it was so popular. It's basically so popular every summer, but I feel like everyone's read it by now except for me. So I'm happy I read this. The only thing that I really didn't love was that another death was represented in this book. I feel like every book that I am reading right now, I don't know if it's coincidence that I just pick up these books, but every book that I read right now just has some sort of like death. I don't even want to call it a trope, just someone died in their family or their like close circle. I just don't love it. I feel like it's so sad and I just don't want to read about it, at least not in every book. I don't want to have my heart ripped out every single time I read a little fun little romance, because it's not fun. I gave this book 4 stars. I love the setting. I love the characters. The next book I read on my Kindle again was a thriller, The Housemaid by Frida McFadden. Like the title says, the housemaid, she's hired to be this housemaid in this family grand mansion home. To put it nicely, in this house there is some very weird things going on with her boss, but she needs this job so badly, so she stays. I really love thrillers. I don't know why I don't read them more often. Like, they keep me on my toes. I read this so fast and I loved it so much. I loved Frida McFadden's writing. It was so good. I also love the setting of this book and the pacing. The pacing was so fun, and she really manipulated me. Like, I did kind of guess, like I had an inkling, because she did put like little crumbs that you could pick up on if you wanted to, but I did really try to figure it out. I definitely didn't figure out the plot twist and the ending of the book. I had a little inkling, but I definitely wasn't right. I gave it 4.5 stars, and I definitely have to check out the other books of Frida McFadden. I definitely have to pick up other books by Frida McFadden because it's so good. I have also started the second book in the series. The last book in this video that I also read on my Kindle was so unfitting to the time of year that it is, Christmas in Quincy. I know what you're thinking. You're like, oh, why is she reading a Christmas book? I definitely didn't want to read a Christmas book, but I know that it's prequel to the Edens series. There's just something about small town and summer. They just go together so well. Since last summer I read almost the entire Calamity series, I kind of wanted to read the Eden series this summer because I just loved small town cutesy romances in summer. And the prequel is just a little novella. I did read this on the way back, on the plane back, so I was like, okay, let's just get in the Christmas mood for 2 minutes. As this is just a novella, I just gave it 2.5 stars. Not because it was bad, but also because it... What does that mean? See, I don't know if I can give it like 3 stars, because if I gave 3 stars, I wasn't absolutely obsessed with the story. I feel like all of like the small town romances I've read so far, I'm like loving, but I'm not absolutely obsessed. I'm like, it's like a nice like little smiling moment, but not like, you know what I mean? Like, I can't really describe it, but I hope you kind of understand. So yeah, I just gave it 3 stars. Loved the 2 main characters. I also thought they had a lot of chemistry. Just don't understand why there was a lot of miscommunication going on, but I was happy to read these, like, what was it, 150 pages of them too. I probably would have read a whole book about them as well. I'm really looking forward to read the Eden series, because Willow Nash, Devney Perry, whatever you want to say, is definitely one of my favorite authors of all time. The last book that I read this month is Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter. I picked this one up while I was on holiday. I definitely got through this a lot slower because it is YA. It was a little bit cheesy for my taste. It just didn't keep me hooked. Didn't love it that much. I understand that it is not written for specifically my age group. I understand that, so I'm totally fine with the book, not hating on it. Loved Wes. He is the cutest boy, high school boy that I have ever read about. So I was absolutely obsessed with him. I really didn't like the girl in this book, Liz. She was just annoying to me, and yeah. I thought the ending was really cute. Again, like I said, it was a YA. Wasn't absolutely obsessed, so I just gave it 3 stars. Yeah, I am really intrigued to pick up Lynn Painter's new adult, I think they're adult, romances, because I feel like I like that more than the YA, because I thought the only thing that was wrong with this book for me personally was the cheesiness of it and like the youngness of it, which I can't criticize at all because it is a YA book. So those were all the books I read this month, in the month of April. And yeah, I'm really intrigued to see how many books I can read in May. I don't have a holiday or a vacation plan, so I definitely think a little bit less. But if you enjoyed this video and if you want to see more wrap up, please let me know. I love filming these. I would love to know if you liked it. I'm gonna see you guys in the next video. Bye!